I know these heroes use key-like items, but I've already done an opening gag that involves keys. I still have the scars from that monkey.
Kishiryu Sentai Ryusoulger.
Dinosaur Knight, Kishiryu Sentai Ryusoulger. Hello and welcome to Earth Alien ProtoMet. Today I'll be taking a look at the 43rd entry in the Super Sentai series, 2019's Kishiryu Sentai Ryusoulger. So let's get to it. In ancient times, a race of humanoids, the Ryusoul tribe, with the help of giant creatures known as Kishiryu, battled against the Druidons, an evil tribe that used Dinosaurs, monsters created from the negative emotions of humans, in an attempt to conquer the planet. Even after driving the Druidons off the planet, Dinosaurs continued to be born from the hearts of humans, and to battle them, members of the Ryusoul tribe are trained to become warriors known as Ryusoulgers. When the Druidons return from space, the newest generation of warriors battle them as Kishiryu Sentai Ryusoulger. I'll be upfront, I'm not a fan of this season. There are some good aspects of the show, but it has some aspects I strongly dislike, some of which I'll discuss in a spoiler section towards the end of the video. It also doesn't help that this season came at the end of a string of seasons I wasn't really a huge fan of. The Ryusoulgers are nothing special, as their personalities fall into basic patterns, leaving little in the way of depth. At best, the black, green, and eventually gold Ryusoulgers, who are initially hesitant to work with the main trio, learn to work with the others as a team, but that's about the only growth they get, and it happens pretty quickly. Heck, the only thing about the Ryusoulgers that's surprising is how quickly the main trio adapt to living among the humans after meeting the wannabe viral video star Ui Tatsui and her archaeologist father, Naohisa, despite the fact that they lived in an isolated village away from humanity all their lives. The fact that the show's heroes are part of some ancient group of heroes is hardly an innovation for the series, as several other seasons of Super Sentai have had this very same premise. Gingaman immediately springs to mind. But this show does have some examples of members of the Ryusoul tribe living otherwise very normal lives among the humans as part of their society, showing that just because you're part of a nigh-immortal race of ancients doesn't mean you're destined for a particular role in life, and that's okay. The Kishiryu, the Ryusoulgers' dinosaur-like allies, are a bit of a mixed bag. Some of them are shown to be sentient, intelligent enough to speak, but others are left voiceless or better at talking than others, making the whole group feel really inconsistent, with some seeming to only exist as attachments for the main Kishiryu's Tiramigo. The Ryusoulgers also utilize objects called Ryusouls to use different powers in both their civilian and Ryusoulger forms, and these are blatant attempts to sell more toys. While this is hardly the first Super Sentai season to do this kind of blatant advertising, it is one of the more obnoxious examples. This means the characters can just pull out these moves out of thin air to solve any problems, showing the writer's lack of ingenuity in problem solving. Heck, there's even a whole episode dedicated to showing off what they can do, all to entice kids to buy them all. A bit of a bright spot, ironically, is the Druidons, as they are decently depicted. While admittedly several of the generals are a bit one-note, the characters of Wiseru and the Mushroom Boy Cleon, who is behind the recent string of Dinosaurs, have great chemistry together, with Cleon especially showing the hardships that even villains have to go through when their bosses are inconsiderate jerks. So if nothing else, watch the show for him. The Wiseru's over-the-top ego is also incredibly enjoyable, making it hard to hate these two particular villains. And now to get into the spoilery reasons I don't care for this show. Jump to this time to avoid the spoilers. So you're still here? Let's go. It starts early with the deaths of Masters Red, Blue, and Pink, all three of which are played by actors who had previously appeared together in the live-action Sailor Moon series. We're supposed to be as affected by their deaths as their students are, but unless you watch the prequel miniseries focusing on them, and which came out well after the show was underway, their deaths won't really mean much of anything to the audience, and even if you did see them, they still might not mean that much. Then there's the mysterious robed figure in the opening credit sequence. I was initially under the assumption it was Jiro Dan's character, the Ryusoul tribe elder, who dresses similarly, so I was confused why he would be in the opening credits sequence despite barely appearing in the show proper. As it turns out, the mystery character was actually Seto, an ancient member of the Ryusoul tribe that occasionally possesses Naohisa to do little more than provide exposition. As a result, Naohisa winds up being a more prominent character than his daughter, to the point where she kinda disappears for quite a few episodes in the show's second half, before being written out of the show prior to the final episode. But my biggest problem with the show is how they handle the character Nada. Nada is introduced as a former student of Master Red and eventually revealed to be the wearer of the cursed Gamezillong armor. While the fact that Gamezillong is a cursed set of armor is treated as a major revelation in the show, it's not a surprise if anybody watched the Super Sentai Psycho Battle miniseries that aired in the 4 weeks leading up to Ryusoulger's first episode. Because of the armor's curse, as well as his own beliefs that he should be Ryusoul Red, he ends up as an enemy of the Ryusoulgers. That is until the Ryusoulgers manage to get rid of the armor's curse and he is redeemed, turning Gamezillong into an ally of the Ryusoulgers. For one episode, at which point they kill him off to give Ryusoul Red a power-up. While this isn't the first time a Red Ranger gained a power-up from someone's death, at least in that example the deceased had spent a significant time as an ally. Here, the writers clearly couldn't think of anything else to do with Nada, and so sacrificed him to sell a new toy. And to add insult to injury, the next episode makes it seem like Ko is affected by Nada's death, only to reveal that he was in a funk over how to best use the armor, effectively sweeping his friend's death under the rug in front of everyone. Kinda makes the main three mourning their masters in the early episodes feel awkward if a better developed character's death is just hand-waved. But despite the major problems I have with the show, I have to admit the show isn't really bad, just not great. The fact that it came at the end of a string of bad seasons, in my opinion, meant that watching it at the time left me disappointed. But independent of those other seasons, this show is at worst mediocre. While I can't recommend Kishiryu Sentai Ryusoulger, I'm not going to say to avoid it. At the end of the day, it's harmless. So until next time, I'm ProtoMet. See ya.